Hello and welcome to No, I wasn't sure if you were going to go. So I always pause to make sure. I am Kevin Hunsberger here at Idea Creative Marketing along with Chief Marketing Strategist Whitney Roberts. And this week we are talking about kind of coming up with a strategy and really getting behind it.
Right. So, as a marketing manager or director or small business owner, you are always hit up with, sales tactics and advertising channels and platforms. So, really, we want to sit down and talk about how to choose the right tactics for your business and your goals. And so the first thing is determining your goals. What do you want to do with your marketing efforts? Those might be hard numbers. Maybe it's a sales growth or a percentage. Maybe it's growing your audience or followers, or what we hope that you say, is to grow, to attract, and to obviously retain and inform, but then also delight your customers so that you develop that loyalty. That would be the ideal situation. But you do have to determine your goals.
Right, and I think that it's also important to remember that goals are, obviously important to set and establish, but then also giving yourself a little bit of flexibility in achieving those goals too, and being realistic too, I think is where a lot of people sometimes go wrong. Either they undersell themselves or they oversell them and think that they're going to be able to achieve a lot of things in a short amount of time. So really being realistic in your goals, I think, is important too.
Yeah, again, we talked last week about those hard conversations and hard truths, having those tough conversations with yourself, and if that's focus groups or feedback or consultants or whatever that is, those are always great steps, when you're in this goal setting phase to incorporate, because you do have to face those, and it is going to make your marketing so much more efficient and then also successful. So always set your goals, and you're going to want to keep those in front of you all the time, because one, as we all have learned over the past couple of years, things can change in an instant with how you can operate your business. Hopefully that doesn't happen again, but we all are kind of living knowing that it could, and we've now lived through it and survived through it. So we kind of know that it can happen. So you do need to know your goals, be able to have that flexibility for if something changes, that you have the strategic mindset that you can grow and adapt to those changes without losing focus of your goals. Maybe you have to have a reality check with, okay, well, now this isn't possible, but I can still take smaller steps to those goals, make some short-term goals, and so get where you need to go, at least in the same direction. So set your goals, but then also you need to have them in front of you, because there are so many cool marketing tactics and advertising channels that are very cool. We love them, we sell them, we use them, and we know that they're bright and shiny and fun. But as we're going to kind of talk about, things are not always what they seem to be, and we don't want. A lot of times they are oversold. A lot of accounts that we come into, we pride ourselves on being transparent and also being part of your team. So we don't sell things that we don't think are going to work. We try not to oversell our clients. One of the first things that we do is go through all of the tactics, sorry, can't speak today, and find out, what is really providing a return on the investment.
Yeah, and as we go into that goal setting, also knowing and defining and really understanding who your audience is and what their needs are, their personas, and what platforms work best. Where is your audience? Because what works for one business or one brand on social may not work for yours. So just because your competition is on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, doesn't mean you have to be in all those places either.
Right. I mean, it is industry specific and your business specific. You could have the same product line and not have the same customers. But when you determine your goals and what you want to do, if you're trying to sell products, then that's going to change your platforms a little bit. If you're looking for subscribers or just followers, knowing your platforms, those are all going to change. So number one is determine goals, and then number two is define your audience, know your audience. Creating personas is a great way to kind of kick it off in trying to determine who your ideal customer base is. You're going to know some of it from your client records and just running your business. You know your customers and your business better than anyone else. So if you sat down, you could think of these personas that identify, your audience base. Who are they? What do they like? What are their behaviors? How do they shop? All of those things within personas so that it can kind of guide your messaging and any kind of media that you put in, whether it's photos or videos.
Yeah, and again, that importance of changing it up per platform. We've talked about this several times too. Something that may work on Instagram, for example, may not translate as well on Twitter or LinkedIn or, so understanding those platforms and the personas that are on those platforms is important.
Yeah, and then once you determine your personas, who are my ideal customers, what do they like, where are they, then you can kind of look at your platforms. Before we were like, oh, every channel, you've got to be on them. Online presence. We hear that all the time. But online presence does not mean you have to be on every single channel. Your audience probably isn't on every single channel. Now you might have ad sets that would be better suited for different platforms, but chances are that if you just focus on 2 or 3 of the platforms, you can create a very strong presence, and that will contribute to a strong online presence. So again, online presence does not mean you have to be on every single channel.
That's right, and there are a lot of we like to say the bright shiny objects, and that's true with social media too. And some are getting more attention than others, and people feel like they may sign up out of with FOMO, and think that if I'm not there, I'm going to miss out on something, and that's not necessarily the case either. So don't just jump in because it's kind of the trendy, popular thing right now, because it may not be the right fit for you, and then you've wasted this time and energy and effort in creating an account that is now going to just sit there dormant.
Or money by hiring an agency that puts you on channels. I think right now what we're seeing is TikTok. I love TikTok. I love to watch it, but I am also not going to be one that puts anything on there. I know that about myself. TikTok is a great channel. It's fun. It's engaging. I think we all, whether you want to admit it or not, have seen, even if you're not on TikTok, you've seen a TikTok video. You like them. But the other thing with platforms that you need to remember, especially when you're investing time or you're paying somebody to do it, is what data can I get from this? Because every single channel that you're on should contribute to your overall strategy, and that strategy should include actionable data. If you cannot collect actionable data, and what I mean by saying that is data that you can use to retarget or grow your audience consistently. So you may TikTok, we have some clients that are like, oh, I have 1 million views. Okay, well, when we pull the data, how much of that is actionable data that we can pull from those views? And it's not very high, but again, I'm not writing off the channel, not discounting it because it is very engaging and engagement matters. However, if you are investing time or which, anytime you're paying somebody to do it, it is costing you money. So you want to make sure that you are getting data that can contribute to your overall strategy. So always remember that about the platforms and keep that in mind when you're deciding what platforms you should be on. Does it produce actionable data?
Yeah, and I think, we, in the past, we would talk about those vanity metrics of the likes and in TikTok's case, the views, because I've fallen into that as well on, I'm not branding or selling anything, but on my personal TikTok, I have one video that has like 6 million views.
We hear this all the time, same
But
story.
No,
I can tell it.
My point is that what have you done for me lately? Who cares? You know what I mean? Like with TikTok, it's like, okay, now what?
I personally don't care.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. So it's fun to watch and get excited and see those numbers. But again, at the end of the day, it's like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. Those vanity numbers really don't translate into what you're hoping that they translate into.
I think that you're going to owe one of our clients royalties for using the phrase, what have you done for me lately? You know who you are.
That's where I got that from.
So the other thing with your audience is defining their behaviors. If they shop a lot, how much time they spend on the internet, where they are spending their time, those will help, define what you need to be putting out there in terms of content, but also the platforms that you need to be on. And then it will also create some purchasing paths. So you know what steps you need to take to create content that pushes them through the customer journey or the buying journey. And that will obviously make your strategy more effective and efficient, less dollars wasted, more money in your pocket.
Absolutely, and that's, again, all of the, sometimes the thought process, or I think people think the thought process is, I'm just going to throw this against the wall and see if it sticks, but really being very thoughtful and setting those goals, defining the audience, and then going through all those talking points of who is that audience and knowing them, you're going to save yourself a lot of headaches, a lot of time, and a lot of money.
Yeah, and the other step that you should really take when you're defining the audience and trying to determine your platforms, again, back to that data, don't depend on the insights from the platforms. They're all biased to the platform. They want you to continue to use everything on their platform. So those numbers do tend to be skewed. You want to either invest or hire an agency that has some very strong software. If you're investing yourself and just doing a couple of different channels, there are some great resources, some great starter ones like Agora Pulse or Hootsuite. Those are great starter resources for you. If you are going to create an entire strategy and really use actionable data, and you expect to have actionable data that can contribute to long-term success, you really need to either team up with an agency that can provide all of those in-depth numbers or invest in it yourself. But you've got to have those. Those are deeper than vanity metrics. They're not comparing you against yourself or your previous performance. It's comparing you to your competitors and nationwide, and really giving you enough knowledge to where you can look at that data and you can determine where you can go, where there's opportunities for growth to really grow your bottom line. Without those, you're just posting. You never want to do that. So again, you have to invest in those things, but they will contribute to a stronger strategy.
Absolutely, and when you talk about investing in things, you have to have a budget and know exactly what you plan to spend, what you can afford to spend, and not necessarily just in monetary amounts, but also with your time, with your effort, with your energy. Know those things before you really get too deep into the woods and involved in this.
Yeah, and along with your goals, this is something that you should always have top of mind in front of you because, again, innovative platforms, technologies, bright and shiny object, you can, create a budget for them. But then at the end of the year, you're going to be cutting back, and that's not really what you want to be doing. So knowing your budget, and yes, you want to leave room to be able to be flexible. So have a little bit of padding in there so that you can jump on opportunities where we see a lot of television opportunities that come up that are really good buys, or radio, or digital strategies, anything. Community sponsorships, you always want to make sure those are involved in your budget, but leave a little bit of room and make sure that you have enough room to be flexible here, but not enough to where you can easily just say, okay, I'm going to spend $2,000 or $3,000 on this video or this platform that is not going to, at the end of the year, you're cutting something that you actually need, or pulling back the reins on something you really need to go into the next year. You don't cheat yourself to jump onto a trend. If you can make it work and you have enough padding in your budget to do so, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do it. If it makes sense and it matches your goals and reaches your audience. So knowing your budget, top of mind all the time.
Always reviewing and knowing that stuff. Location is obviously important as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you are, and this is kind of goes with your audience, if you are a brick and mortar or you're an online business, if you ship nationwide or worldwide, or you've got to pick up in store, you've got to know your location and the reality of how far, especially if you're brick and mortar or you are local pickup, what's the reality of people driving? We want to think that people will come to us, an extra 15 minutes or 20 minutes that people will come to us. But, we're busy. You have to know that your audience is also busy and we have to respect their time. So we don't want to be spending advertising on kind of reaching beyond reality in this. So location is important, and then your industry. So just because, again, you're back to your industry may do snail mail. They may do direct mail campaigns, and they do it for a reason. Most of the time it works. If all of your competitors are doing it, it's probably because it works. And so I see this a lot too, is people will try and sell something that's new and innovative, but you should always really look at those, and again, look at your goals, your audience, your budget, your location, to kind of have a reality check with yourself. Is, for my industry, for my business, does this make sense? Yes, it's innovative, but does it make sense and hit on goals, audience, budget, location? If it doesn't, don't spend your money on it.
Yeah, very good advice. I mean, we were talking too about that budget and that timing element of it as well. If you are running a business or running the marketing department at your business, you have to set aside time and allocate time for all of these platforms, because we've talked about it before. You don't want to just post the same thing on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and call it a day. Being thoughtful and coming up with different strategies and different ways of presenting maybe the same idea or same concept, but different ways to put it out there too. So that budget, has to include your time as well. And, there are so many places right now that are trying to hire and get people on staff and people are dealing with that. Managers are dealing with that kind of stuff. So that's where it becomes advantageous to hire an agency to kind of come in and help you with the marketing stuff and kind of going through some of these things that you may not want to or have the time to sit down and think about on a daily basis.
And again, it's so much more than posting or just creating an ad. It's about creating a presence and a brand and a loyalty and a following and building up your reputation, monitoring your reputation, and creating data that will lead to long-term success. You work hard, you deserve a partner that doesn't oversell you, and then provides results that you can then take that data, those campaigns, and keep going. Your hands are not tied to that agency or that provider. You should be able to have control over your efforts. You should be able to trust that your agency, your partner, your team has your business's best interest. Your reputation is always number one. Yours, not mine, your business. So if you are looking for an agency partner that has those values, give us a call. If you have an internal team that you feel like you just need to spruce up your strategy or take a hard look at that, we would be happy to do that.
Absolutely. Check us out, again, on our social media channels. Give us a call, visit our website. It is ideacreativemarketing.com. Our number 529-0969. It's all on our Facebook page as well.
Oh, and we will be back next week. I'm going to make a pledge to do it once a week.
There you go.
And we'll talk about something else that's new and trendy.
Yes.
We'll jump on a bandwagon next week.
And I'll remind you of my TikTok following too. So.
So.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching and have a great week.